Google Fiber came out about 10 years ago, and every single place that it went, it changed the way that ISPs worked. It is awesome. They went through and really forced the hands of all these ISPs who had a monopoly and forced them to actually make great services. If you look at the places where Google Fiber was said to be coming, as soon as Google Fiber was announced in those locations, all the independent ISPs would go through and jack up how much download and upload speed you got without actually raising prices at all. They forced the hands of these companies who were just raking in a ton of money off the top because it was essentially a monopoly, and it really forced their hands. I think that was honestly Google's entire intention for setting up Google Fiber, because Google relies so much on the internet that making sure they've got people access to very solid internet is very important. I live in Huntsville, Alabama now, and it has had Google Fiber for quite a while now, and they even have the option for Google Fiber 2 gigabit. But quite frankly, I'm not going to upgrade. I have my entire network able to hook up to a 2.5 gigabit connection if needed, and so I'm one of few people who actually could use 2 gigabit connection for all my devices, pretty much, all the ones that need it. But I've got 3 reasons why I just don't upgrade. I absolutely love Google Fiber. I mean, here, this is a super quick speed test that I just ran. Easily, anytime I run it, it's at least over 900 megabit. And the difference between 900 and gigabit, you're never going to notice that difference really. And it's got a ping of 1 millisecond. That just makes it so much faster. To be fair, I am actually using a Google Fiber server, but so much of the stuff that I do is actually a Google service that you actually feel the speed with. And so it really makes it worth it for me. Now, the 3 reasons I'm not going to be upgrading to Google Fiber are not because the service is bad, but because it's so good in a lot of ways. So the first is, honestly, 1 gigabit is way faster than anything else you need. So I am somebody who is a tech guy. I think anybody who sees this channel knows that. And I have 0 reasons to ever use over 1 gigabit per second. Due to the fact that most services you're hitting, they very rarely even let you hit a full gigabit. That's because if they allowed everybody to download at gigabit speeds, people would be downloading way more, and that ends up costing servers a lot more money. The one time that I ever actually see the thing saturate, other than a speed test, is when I'm actually going through and uploading videos to YouTube. When I'm uploading videos to YouTube, I can hit about 800 megabit upload going to YouTube because, well, it's Google Fiber, so I assume they just have a YouTube upload server in the exact same server farm that I'm connected to. So because of that, it has made uploading videos to this channel for me 50 times faster than my old internet connection out of Los Angeles. Back before I had Google Fiber and I was living in Los Angeles, I had 20 megabit up, which was horrible. I actually had to go through and I made a virtual machine on my server that would go through, and the entire purpose of that virtual machine was it had a desktop Linux that I VNC into, and from there I would use that to upload my YouTube videos because they would take so long. It went from taking 50 minutes to upload a video to taking 1 minute. That is an absolute game changer, and it's why fiber is so cool. Fiber is great because fiber is symmetric. You have 2 different fibers come to your house in most cases. One is for the connection, your downlink, and one's for your uplink. And so because of that, you can get a symmetric connection, which is so much more important now that we live in this information age where you're not just receiving data, you're also transmitting data. Think voice, all the voice calls you're doing and all the files you're uploading everywhere. It makes it so that that is so much faster. The other thing that's awesome about fiber is a direct connection. You are in most cases not going through and actually getting aggregated connection where if your neighbors are also using the internet, now your 100 megabit internet ends up being 10 megabit because a bunch of people in your neighborhood or in your section of housing are all downloading videos. No, you get a single fiber connection in most cases directly to the server farm, which means it's also very upgradable down the line. So that was my first reason. It's just as is, 1 gigabit is just so fast. I don't think I could get anything. I don't think I would ever be able to tell if I had a 1 gigabit connection or a 2 gigabit connection. I cannot think of a single use case in my household where for download speeds, I would notice my download speeds doubling due to the fact that servers are just not going to give you that much data. And because I'm downloading so fast, it's very rare that I would ever have 2 connections going at the same time. And even if I did, for the most part, I found that most, and this is not perfect, found that most connections kind of cap you around 500 megabit. And so having 500 megabit on 2 devices gives me the full gigabit that I'm getting anyway. And so even with 2 things downloading simultaneously, there's a decent chance I'm server limited rather than actual internet limited. Plus, download and upload are completely independent. And so that means I can go through and I can be downloading at a gigabit and uploading at a gigabit, which means that they're not even going to be butting into each other. So now on to number 2. Number 2 comes from the fact that Google forces you to use their own routers. So there have been some posts on Reddit I've seen that some people have been able to get it to work, but according to Google's documentation right here, due to the nature of the 2 gig plans, customers will not be able to use their own router. And that's a deal breaker for me. That's actually probably should be number 1, honestly, is because that is a complete deal breaker. Now, the reason it's number 2 is the fact that I'm pretty sure I could find a way around this, because I have seen people successfully able to just plug it into a UDM Pro or something like that with some jankily setups. Look into it before just buying it and trying it. But forcing you to use Google's router is just a non-starter for me. I do not like it when you're forced to use somebody's router because they never have the features you want to, and then you just can't expand out this ecosystem. I am very heavily invested in UniFi right now. All my gear is UniFi. I've got multiple access points all over my house that are UniFi. I'm not going to go through and switch it all to Google Fiber. I'm just not going to. And so that's the second reason, and it's pretty much a non-starter for me. And the third reason is the fact that it's not symmetric. So the one place that I've actually ever been able to really feel a slowdown, and feel is a very strong word, is going to be upload speeds. Upload speeds are going to be the things when I'm going through and doing massive backups, when I'm transmitting a bunch of files to people, when I'm doing all that kind of stuff. That is where upload speeds are crucial. And for me, once you get past a gigabit, download speeds stop becoming the limiting factor, and upload speeds actually flip to be that one. Because when I'm going through and doing a backup to Synology C2, which is personally what I use for backing up my crucial files, I'm able to pretty much saturate that gigabit uplink, which is pretty cool. Same thing when I'm going through and uploading videos to YouTube. I come pretty close to saturating that out. Now, if I had 2 gig, I don't know if I would actually start reaching those server limits. But for me, upload speeds end up being way more important than download speeds, just because of the nature of what I do. I end up having massive file servers who need to be able to get files up to people really quickly. And so I tend to be more limited by upload speed than download speed. Now, if they were to go through and give me a symmetric 2 gig connection, that's actually where I would consider it a lot more. And I'm a very, very weird use case for that. But for me, that's just where I don't care about download speeds nearly as much as I care about upload speeds. The other thing is, it's $100 a month versus $70 a month. While that's not a huge upgrade, if I break it down by the percent of time that I ever see a difference between a 1 gig and a 2 gig connection, I'm paying like $30 a month to have that happen maybe once or twice, and then it's saving me seconds, maybe minutes. I just really cannot tell. If I got 2 gig, it would just be to flex on people. So I could go through and have a speed test and like 2 gig. And so that with that price difference, I just don't have any justification for spending that extra money per month. $70 a month is a lot of money for internet. Now, albeit it is amazing internet and it is so reliable and so consistent and never has any issues, but it's a lot of money for that upgrade, and I really do not think I'd ever be able to use it. Overall, I love Google Fiber. Not just for what they give my house, but for how they've really, in my opinion, changed the way that ISPs operate and have broken a lot of people out of this monopoly of horrible, horrible service. I would love it if Starlink would do the exact same thing for users who are out in rural areas, because I think rural areas are still the place where there are just one single option, and it is horrible for most cases. by having Starlink as a viable option if it ever does come around, I think that would help break it, just like Google Fiber has done for everybody else. Now in the future, having faster than gigabit plans will be important probably, but if you think about how long it took us to go from 20 megabit to gigabit, that was a very short amount of time. It was kind of a step up. There was 100 megabit plans were kind of a big deal, and then Google Fiber just comes out and boom, now everybody's upgraded. And so I think it's going to be quite a while before bandwidth on the internet actually catches up to how fast gigabit speeds are. And so maybe in another 5 years, we'll be having this conversation again, and it'll be more viable to maybe now we'll want to go to a 5 gig connection. But I think it's actually going to be longer than we think it is for that, because we're kind of reaching a Moore's law is slowed down, and we're not storing as large of files anymore. Compression's focusing very hardcore. And I mean, even 8K is going to be easily viable on a 1 gig connection. And so right now in this day and age, this is going to be dumb looking back to it probably, I don't think that we are going to be limited by those speeds for a while. That being said, the beauty of fiber is it is way easier to upgrade. Currently, the only reason why I'm not able to do faster than gigabit speeds is because I'm capped by Google. And I guess the hardware they gave me is capped to 1 gigabit. But the beauty thing about fiber is, fiber, you just need a better connection, and now it's that much faster. It means that they don't have to go through and rerun all these lines to get an upgrade. The line that runs my house will be able to do 10 gig easily. And so because of that, we have a huge upgrade path, and I think fiber is just so great. I am very looking forward to the rest of the country all having options for fiber in the home, but I think the majority of large cities now at least have some option. But even in Los Angeles, I was stuck with a pretty expensive internet connection that was very, very, very slow and had 0 options for fiber. All right, well, that's going to be it for this quick overview of Google Fiber. I love it a lot. It's awesome. Go and leave any other experiences with the Google Fiber you'd like to see. And anybody who actually has a real use case for having a 2 gig plan, please let me know. I am fascinated by that. And just flexing on people with a speed test does not count. All right, have a good one. Bye.